I'm shocked by two things about the Albanese government's response today to the Iran war. And we're not even talking about its stupid ad telling us to save petrol by taking the roof racks off our cars. I'll get to that too, though. No, the two things I'm talking about show the gross irresponsibility of this government and a blind ideology that just threatens us with disaster. I'll start with Chris Bowen, the Energy and Climate Change Minister. You see, peace talks between the US and Iran ended in failure on the weekend. President Donald Trump says, all right, the US, as of tonight, is going to blockade all Iranian ports, stop all ships carrying Iranian oil, take away Iran's biggest source of money while letting through ships from other Gulf countries.
At 10 o'clock tomorrow, we have a blockade going into effect. That'll be 10 o'clock tomorrow. Other nations are working so that Iran will not be able to sell oil.
Now, of course, this is going to take even more oil out of the system, unless, of course, the US can meanwhile clear the Strait of Hormuz of any Iranian mines and stop Iranian attacks on other oil tankers trying to get through. Now, on Saturday, the US did send 2 US destroyers with equipment to locate mines and map a safe passage through. They defied warnings from Iran's Navy to turn back.
You must alter course and go back to the Indian Ocean immediately. If you don't obey my order, you will be targeted. I'm ready to open fire on them without any warning.
Now, what's interesting is the Iranians either couldn't stop those ships or didn't dare. Still, we are in strife. We're looking now at weeks and probably months more disruption to the world's oil supplies, to ours, really. But enter Chris Bowen today with spin so dumb that it astonishes me that journalists didn't laugh in his face. For instance, he claims this war teaches us this lesson.
In all my discussions with my international colleagues, energy and climate, there isn't one country in the world that said, you know what this fuel crisis reminds us is we need more fossil fuels. That conversation is not being had anywhere around the world. In fact, countries around the world are saying this underpins and underlines the need to keep going with things like electrification and ensuring renewable energy is an important part of the mix going forward.
Yes, you did indeed hear Bowen say, we don't need more fossil fuels. But if that's the case, why was his own Prime Minister in Singapore just last week begging it to send us more fossil fuels, petrol and diesel?
We have 3 priorities when it comes to energy, both now and certainly in the immediate period. They are supply, supply and supply.
In fact, we so need more fossil fuels that Anthony Albanese will tomorrow also fly to Malaysia and Brunei to ask for their fuels as well, to save Australia from economic collapse. I mean, he's certainly not flying there to ask for more sunshine or wind. Now, Albanese is desperate because fossil fuels supply 91% of the energy that our economy uses. 91%. And if we don't need more fossil fuels, can Chris Bowen then explain why the government is now spending $20 million urging Australians to save what fuel we have left, no matter how piddling it might be, pleading...
The global fuel shortage is affecting everyone, and we all have a part to play. Your simple actions, like pumping up your tyres, can make our fuel supply go further. For more tips, visit fuelplan.gov.au.
Now, at least this ad campaign shows us that the government, it may be running out of fuel, but it isn't running out of woke. Still casting lots of minority groups in its ad. You know, broke but woke. But clearly we do need more fossil fuels. Even when Chris Bowen says, well, you know, we could instead electrify everything. Well, that would need fossil fuels too, a lot more of them, like coal and gas, to supply the extra power, all those electric cars, and to keep our electricity system stable enough to work. But Bowen is stuck on stupid, claiming sun and wind are more reliable in wartime.
This is exactly the kind of moment where the government narrative starts to crack under real-world pressure. Because while Australians are being told to tighten belts, save fuel, and accept temporary pain, the political messaging coming from Chris Bowen is going in a completely different direction. The claim that global crises are somehow proof we don't need more fossil fuel sounds clean on paper, but it collides directly with the reality unfolding in energy markets right now. When supply chains tighten, when geopolitical conflict disrupts oil flows, countries don't debate ideology, they scramble for secure, immediate energy sources. That's the contradiction being pointed out here. On one side, there's a push toward long-term transition and renewables. On the other side, the system is still heavily dependent on oil, gas, and coal to keep everything running in real time. And that's where the tension sits, because electrification, as ambitious as it is, doesn't exist in isolation. It still leans on baseload power, infrastructure stability, and in many cases fossil fuels to bridge the gap. That's not opinion. That's how the current grid actually operates. So when political leaders frame this crisis as proof that fossil fuels are unnecessary, critics argue it doesn't match the lived reality of energy dependence, especially in moments where supply security becomes the #1 priority. At the same time, the government messaging around conservation campaigns only adds more confusion. On one hand, citizens are told that demand management matters. On the other hand, they're told the system is moving beyond the very fuels they're being asked to save. And that contradiction is what fuels the entire debate here. Is this a genuine transition strategy, or a mismatch between policy narrative and energy reality? Because in moments of global instability, ideology gets tested, and energy security becomes the real scoreboard. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Do you think this is smart energy transition or dangerous policy confusion? Don't forget to subscribe for more breakdowns like this, and stay tuned because the next developments could change everything.